This podcast contains discussion around depression and suicide. If you're experiencing feelings of sadness, depression, or thoughts of self-harm, stop and seek help now. There is someone waiting to talk to you right now on Lifeline's crisis hotline, 13 11 14, or call 000.
This podcast may also contain unintentional coarse language and political incorrectness.
Welcome to Season 3 of You Wouldn't Be Dead for Quids. I'm Ruth Geis. I'm here with Graham Cotter, your Schitt's Creek tour guide. And this season, we're taking an up-close look at the work of Dr. Kelly Turner and her book, Radical Remission, Surviving Cancer Against All Odds. But before we do that, there is no show without the Schitt's Creek tour guide himself, Graham Cotter. Graham, great to see you. How are you doing?
Wouldn't be dead for quids, Ruth.
Are you getting much rain at the moment out at Reed River Farm?
Unfortunately, not as much as we'd like, Ruth. I think we're in a rain shadow, and they're talking of a cyclone next week sometime, and that might be lining up for us, unfortunately. But anyway, we'll see what happens.
Oh, well, if it doesn't rain, it
Pause.
Category 5s.
Yeah.
Now, you've been pretty busy since we finished Season 2 of this podcast. Since then, you've been studying.
Yeah, Ruth, I've actually just completed that Dr. Kelly Turner's teaching and coaching program in that with the 10 healing factors that she's identified as part of that research she's done in that radical remission space. So, pretty amazing journey actually, and a lot of insights, and those 10 factors, how important they are in not only in the radical remission in the cancer space, but also and other health aspects, including depression and just the way we live generally.
Beautiful. So you are now a certified radical remission coach.
Teacher and coach, yeah. So
Congratulations.
Thanks very much, Ruth.
All right, well, let's just explain a little more about Dr. Turner's work. So you mentioned her book.
She's written 2 books, actually. One, Radical Remission, where she identified 9 factors, and then she's since rewritten that to Radical Hope and added the additional factor. Now, part of her research was talking to 1,500-odd documented cases of who have been in that radical remission space. So, have beaten cancer in some shape, manner, or form, or in remission anyway from being almost on death's bed to living normal, healthy, and very long lives in some instances. So those 10 factors were common to every in every instance. There was about 75 all up, different ways and means, but those 10 factors were the standout, and this is the basis of that, the 10 factors in the radical remission teaching and coaching.
Okay, and it's those top 10 that we're going to actually take a look at in this season's podcast. What was it that drew you to it?
It made sense to me because I've survived. I had bowel cancer in my mid-40s. Prostate cancer about 12 years ago now. Mm-hmm. So I don't think cancer's touched anyone's lives, relatives or close friends and even close family, So it's very much a part of our, the way we live now is association with cancer in some shape, manner or form. And the other thing is that, and as we've covered in previous podcasts, is that depression, and which I had. And what struck me was that the 10 healing factors for cancer, they're people who want to live, and then the same the flip side is suicide, and depression is a big part of both, actually. The cancer and the suicide.
Something you've always been passionate about.
Yeah, yep. No, it is. It's critically important, and that link between how we think and where we finish up in both instances is very apparent.
Now, just to be clear, neither Dr. Kelly Turner or the Radical Remission Project are against conventional cancer treatment in any way. So we're actually talking about in conjunction with regular medical treatment.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ruth. I can't stress that enough. I mean to say there are, there are individuals that Dr. Kelly has interviewed that conventional medicine just basically said go home and die, and so they've said no, bugger you, I'm not, and those 10 factors they've applied in their lives, in their individual lives, and are still alive because of that. Dr. Kelly believes that we have something really important to learn about the immune system, and part of these 10 factors are all in relation to building that immune system, and working in conjunction with the conventional medicine. And
but it's imperative to keep in mind, and Dr. Turner puts this in all of her books, etc., that the 10 healing factors uncovered in her Radical Remission research are still a hypotheses only.
Yeah, definitely. There's no guarantees, Ruth, but by the same token, if it's all about giving yourself the best possible chance, especially in that cancer space, because more often than not, for the doctor to say to you, well, you've got cancer, you're immediately thinking, well, it's this is the end, and it does not necessarily that doesn't mean to be the case. If you can take steps to rectifying that, and sometimes that's exactly what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. The thing about these 10 factors is, regardless of your current health, whether you have had some sort of diagnosis or if you have a chronic illness or at the moment you're going along fine, they actually look to be a great basis for a healthier life in general.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when you look at these, the factors, and it's so simple, basically. But by the same token, you got to put the effort in. No pain, no gain, and that's the reality of it. So.
Yeah. But so today we're going to look at the first factor in the Radical Remission course, which is
a reason to live.
Strong reasons to live.
Strong reasons to live.
Okay, so what's that quote by Dostoevsky?
That quote is the mystery of human existence lies not just in staying alive, but in finding something to live for, and we really need to focus on that, yeah.
So now you often hear people describe someone with cancer as a fighter, that they have a fighting spirit, but that's not actually what we're talking about here.
Definitely not, Ruth, because when you're in a fight mode, then you sort of it runs against how do you say the thinking and the physical condition that you need to be in to enhance your chances of actually becoming well, for want of a better word. So
when you are in fight or flight, your body is actually pumping out some fairly powerful hormones for stress, so that you are under stress, to say it's a fight or flight response. And while that's really good in very small doses, if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, for instance, it's not so good long term.
No, definitely not. And what's important is finding a reason for living is we spend far too much time on the negative, and we got to look at the the amazing positive aspects of our lives. It might be our children, our grandchildren, what you love to do, and how you spend, how you really love to spend your time, be it travel or those sorts of things. And when you're thinking about those things, then that it shuts off those that fight chemicals that your body produces naturally, and
So by focusing on those kind of things, when you're saying focusing on family, on grandchildren, on travelling, or, it depends who you are and what your situation is, whatever that strong reason for living is, it actually turns off the fight or flight response and you go into a different mode of relax and repair.
Exactly. And,
so that means you're pumping out different hormones that are
probably
going to boost your immune system.
Yeah, probably the good ones,
Yeah.
And it makes you feel better within yourself as well when you're sort of thinking about the things that you really love and enjoy, and those sorts of things that you put you in the right frame of mind to meet.
It's interesting, like when I try and think about what my strong reason to live is, if you just ask me right now, I'm a little embarrassed to say that I'm not really sure what they are. Is that uncommon?
I wouldn't think so, Ruth. Because we're sort of conditioned with the pace of life we live in today's world to overlook those very significant things that are so important to every aspect of our lives. And being the happy, contented person that we're put on this earth to be,
So the thing is, how do you find the reasons? Like, as a radical remission coach, do you help people?
Oh, definitely.
Find those reasons?
Yeah, no, that's part of the process, Ruth, and it's quite simple. Like me to say, for example, there is a process that we go through that actually identifies that, encourages people to look for those things, and it might be having enough money to last you for the rest of your life, a multi-billionaire, and those sorts of things. And what would you
please.
do? Yeah. But and it could be as simple as my life experience. I've shared this previously, and I call it the ball buster. Is if I had have done what I was looking to do all those years ago with what I would have missed out on, and that reflection I call the ball buster, because it was pretty amazing what's happened in my life, and there's so much going on around us that we don't stop and appreciate how blessed we are in some instances. Everyone has, and people with cancer more often than not can find those reasons for living, those really positive, strong reasons for living. But people with in that depressed state, I know when I was in that state, there was I had no reason, and it's just imperative that we need to be able to recognise that every single day, whether you got cancer, depression, or whatever. We need to take time and appreciate our reasons for living and identify those reasons for living. It just changes every aspect.
And I've discovered it's much easier to find when you are talking to someone else.
Well, that's exactly right. And
when you can get out of your own head and
yeah.
So if anyone can get us into a positive mind space, Graham, I think it's you.
Thank you, Ruth.
Can you tell us a little bit more how someone might access the coaching? Like, what does that actually look like?
Coaching comes in two components or two possibilities, two options, I guess. The first one is actual workshops which I'll be conducting here and possibly elsewhere. And they're a 2-day workshop where we go through those 10 factors, and in some of those instances, like there's certain areas of those factors like diet and herbs and supplements and those things where I have no expertise in that area, so I'll pull in experts in those spaces to give the best possible outcome for anyone who wants to attend one of those workshops.
Do you have an information session coming up, don't you?
Yeah.
How can we find that to come along to that?
Well, we'll put the links to that introduction session in the comments on this podcast, and also you can contact me directly. My details are on my website, www.rapidradicalwellness.com.au.
Mm-hmm. And you can also follow Graham on Facebook as Graham Cotter, the Orgotella Fella. So we've covered only the first factor in the 10 factors for radical remission. And I can already see, me personally, that I have some work to do. What is coming up for episode 2?
Episode 2, Ruth, is a pretty important one. Is intuition. And it's so important, it really is. Our intuition is, we've lost touch with our intuition.
Yeah. I'm very much looking forward to hearing more about that, Graham. You've been listening to the Radical Remission coach, Graham Cotter, and we'll catch you very soon for season 2. In fact, you can probably go to it right now if you would like to continue learning about the 10 factors of radical remission. But in the meantime,
Remember, our minds respond to the words we say and the pictures we make. Change the words, change the pictures, change your life.
Maybe even save it.